Hi everyone, it's Jody and welcome to my channel, The Planner Pages Edit. Today I'm going to talk about my morning routine, which follows the Miracle Morning framework, and I'm going to share how you can, 1, adopt this framework into your morning routine, and 2, utilize your stationery and planner products to help you optimize this experience and really get your day started on the right foot. So grab a pen and paper. You're probably going to want to take notes, and let's get started. So for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you may have noticed on some of my planner spreads that I have time blocked a portion of my mornings and have simply just labeled it as morning routine. And for me, morning routine has changed according to the season of my life. There are some seasons where I'm really disciplined and really engaged in my morning routine, and others where I'm just a little more forgiving of myself based on what's going on. Now, this summer, I went through a lot of work travel, so my morning routine was very flexible, but now I am kind of back into a normal house routine, I guess. I'm home more often, and I want to be a little more disciplined in how I spend my mornings before my day really starts. So the Miracle Morning is basically a framework that was developed by a man named Hal Elrod, who wrote a book called Miracle Morning. Maybe you've read it. If you haven't, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to. I'll show you how you can really incorporate his ideas without reading the book. And for all transparency's sake, I have not read his book, but I have heard a lot about his book. I have read the main takeaways from his book, and I think you can certainly adapt his framework into your daily life without having to have read that whole book. And I'll show you how. But anyways, in guru speak, the Miracle Morning is how to really optimize your morning before 8 a.m. and how to get you on that right foot, both in mostly in a mindset way, I would say. It also is kind of focused on habit stacking, meaning one habit is going to lead to another and to another. So I'm going to walk you through the main points of this framework, how I use my stationery and planners to really make this framework work for me. And maybe you can walk away with some ideas on how to incorporate your morning routine with some of these Miracle Morning ideas. So let's just get started on the framework. So the Miracle Morning is broken down into 6 practices, starting with silence. And I'll go into all 6 in more detail, but they are silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. So what do we mean by all this? They're really pretty self-explanatory, but there are some nuances, and we'll just start with silence. Silence literally means spending about 10 minutes of your morning without the TV on, without music playing, not even meditative music. No background noises besides the natural noises of your home or neighborhood. Sounds that you cannot control are fine. But basically, you are to spend your time, not talking, not actively listening to anything, and just spend it in prayer or meditation. And the purpose is to really clear your head of all that's polluting it before you begin your day. And this is really the ritual of the Miracle Morning. Excuse me. After you've done that, though, you move on to the next practice. And this is where you can pull out your stationery or planner, and that is affirmations. So affirmations, they're nothing new to our culture, but many still find a lot of value in them. And I can't think of a better way to start your morning by really incorporating this practice into your day. Now, some people will literally speak their affirmations to themselves in the mirror. That's not my style, but there is actually some value in doing that. I have read that there's some scientific evidence that doing that will trigger certain things in your subconscious, but that's not for me. For those of you who have followed me for a while, you probably wouldn't be surprised to learn that I prefer writing my affirmations down. And some people will write them down on sticky notes and place them throughout the house. I think the closest I've done to that is maybe putting an affirmation and sticking it to my computer so I can see it throughout the day. But what I really like to do is I like to write my daily affirmations in my planner. And there is something to be said about physically writing things down, including affirmations. And like I said before, verbally speaking and writing both have their own benefits. It has been scientifically proven that when you write something down, including an affirmation or goal, and then combine that with verbally repeating it to yourself, you're activating a psychological or neurological response in your brain that increases your belief and commitment to the words that you just said and wrote down. So what does this all look like in a planner? Well, I shall show you, at least what it looks like in my planner. So this is how I am recording my daily affirmations in my planner. This is Cloth and Paper's Hobonichi style weekly layout. And I like this setup because it does allow me to write the affirmation, but also repeat it, which is the best practice. The whole point of affirmations is to say them, state them, and then repeat them throughout the day. Because I choose to record my affirmations in my planner instead of sticking them on Post-it notes around the house to see throughout the day, this system, I feel, covers all the bases to make sure that those affirmations are sticking in my head. So what I have done is I have taken the left side page, and I've written my affirmations in the traditional first person style. What I have done on the right-hand side is instead of repeating that affirmation word for word, I've rewritten it in the third person, which is a little unconventional, but this is why I'm doing it. And this is me getting a little vulnerable here. For me, seeing things in writing or even saying things about myself in first person just kind of makes me feel a little uncomfortable. The practice itself seems a little cheesy to me, but then there's probably a little imposter syndrome involved where I might not truly believe the words I am saying about myself to myself. But when I rewrite it in the third person, I feel like it just gives it a little more validation. And it still kind of serves that repetitive nature of affirmations because that is part of the value of them. So that's how I am including my planner into the Miracle Morning practice with the focus on the affirmation stage. So we've covered silence, we've covered affirmations, and now the next stage is visualization. Now, I don't use my planner or stationery for this step, although you certainly can if you wish. But visualization is really the practice of visualizing your ideal day. How would the perfect day play out for you? And the idea is to just really treat this as a mental exercise. While you certainly could write that down, I think the goal here is to really visualize it in your head. Because there's something about visualizing, right? You might have heard about anyone who is in sports. It's a very common practice for coaches to tell you to visualize optimal performance, whether it's on the basketball court, baseball, or softball field. Visualizing you excelling in that sport is said to do something to you psychologically so that you can actually achieve it. And this is really what this practice is meant to do. So it only takes a few seconds, but again, it's an integral part of really setting your day up on the right note. It's really this next practice that I want to go over with you because you can use your planner and stationery with this. And that is exercise. So people take this stage to various extremes, but the idea isn't to necessarily do a full hour workout in the gym every morning. Remember, the Miracle Morning is meant to make the most of your morning before 8 a.m. And if you're going to do all of this well, you're either going to have to get up really early to do your exercise, or you can just pare it down, which is what I have done. So This step can really be as simple as taking a short walk around the block, doing 10 minutes of yoga or stretching, or something very simple. The idea is just to wake your body up, get the blood circulating, and lift your mood. So, of course, there are two obvious ways to incorporate this step using your planner, and that is either keeping an exercise log or a habit tracker. So I'm not a big habit tracker user, but lately there have been some essential habits that I have been slacking on. So last month, I decided the best way to hold myself accountable is to create my own habit tracker and really start using it. And exercising is one of those things that is in there, and that has been meant to be part of my miracle morning routine. And I'm just going to show you an example of how I have been using my homemade habit tracker to monitor my exercise. So this is my homemade habit tracker. And what these are this is Cloth and Paper's Duo Notes Blank and Graph Planner Insert. And then hopefully you can see the faint highlighting on every other day. And I just used a Tombow brush marker for that. And that's really just to make it easier for me to read with all the columns. So this is a 7-day habit tracker. And like I said, every other day is highlighted in light gray just to make it easier for me to read. And I've written the days of the week in the top, and then the tasks that I want to track or the habits on the side. And then it's really simple. I just put a small X in the box once it's completed. And this has really been my version of a habit tracker to really help make me accountable for some of the things I've been slacking on. And I've just started it. Oh, that one's an ugly one. This is the layout I prefer. It's a little more simple, and I just put a little sticker here so that I'm not accidentally ticking off stuff on the wrong days. But anyways, this is an example of a very simple and functional habit tracker and how I'm using it as part of my morning routine. And of course, the exercise is for me these days walking. And when I feel like my week can accommodate it, I will also do some stretching. And that, to me, will count as my exercise. All right, this next practice is reading. And for me, I have a few rules for this practice. And one of those rules is when I'm doing my reading as part of my miracle morning, I am not reading anything related to work, and I'm not reading anything in the news. Because the day again, the practice and the goal again is to set your morning up for the best that it can be before 8 a.m. And work and the news are two things, at least for me, that can get me agitated really quickly. So I am not going to start my day doing anything related to those two topics. In the past, I have spent this aspect of the morning either doing Bible study, doing a personal study like I'm doing now, or even reading a fiction book that I enjoy. The idea is really to set aside some time to get, again, your mind in the right mindset, but also do something that's going to lighten your mood, right? So that you can go into your day on the highest note possible. So as I said, I am doing a personal study right now. You may have seen examples of this in a previous YouTube video, but I'm going to walk you through it again because if you haven't seen it, you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here with my reading and study. And if you have seen it, it's going to tie what you've seen before all together into this context of my miracle morning. So I've gone through this before in another YouTube video. I'm still working through this book, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It is part of my personal study, and it is part of my miracle morning routine. But just to show you, again, how I'm using my stationery products for this, I'm using the page flags to mark passages and pages that I want to return to. I'm using sticky notes to record memos to myself about what I'm reading. And just quickly, I'm transferring the notes from this book, and this is why it's taken me so long to get through this. It truly is a study. I am transferring my notes from this book into my HP Mini Planner. And here's my page flag key. These page flags all mean something. You can look at my earlier YouTube video for a more thorough walkthrough. And then I'm just adding those notes into my HP Mini. Again, this looks familiar. This is the Hobonichi weekly style inserts from cloth and paper, just in a different size. It's a great versatile insert, and I highly recommend it because you can do so much with it. So basically, I am writing down the note that I captured from the book, and then writing down my personal thoughts on what I had just copied down. And then I'm using these page flags according to the key that I put together for future reference. So when I'm doing the reading part of my Miracle Morning, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm spending my time. And trust me, this is not work to me. This is an enjoyment. And so I really have found a lot of benefit in this practice in terms of starting my morning. And for the final practice of the Miracle Morning routine, we have scribing. So I feel scribing is probably the most creative part of the Miracle Morning practice. And chances are you're probably already doing this. But scribing is pretty straightforward. There are a few ways people do this. One is the practice of keeping a book of morning pages, which comes from the book The Artist's Way. If you have not read it, I do recommend it. There's some really good practices in there, especially with regards to really kickstarting the creative habits in your life. And morning pages I've done for a while. This is a Stalogy Notebook. And this is my morning pages. I think basically the premise behind morning pages is that for every day, I can't remember what the time frame is. I did it until the end of the book, until the end of my notebook. You spend time every day writing 3 pages of anything that comes to mind, unstructured writing. And the idea is it's going to unlock some of the creative blocks that you might be having in your brain. So I did that for a while. These days, I'm just doing regular journaling. This is my Sterling ink blank notebook, which I've turned into a journal. And I've added a little deco in here, some tip-ins. But this is this is probably one of the most enjoyable parts of my day, just doing a brain dump into my journal and really wrapping up my morning routine with that scribe practice. So that is the Miracle Morning routine. And whenever you see the words, the time blocked section and the words morning routine in my planner, now you know what I'm doing. But thank you for joining me. If you have any questions about the Miracle Morning practice, just drop a comment. Also on a similar note, morning routines, there's so many different ways. There's more than one way to do the same thing. Always remember that. Don't let anyone tell you differently. So this is just my morning routine, but I would love to know what your morning routine is. And if you are using your planner and stationery products, let me know how you're incorporating them. So thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see you next time.